I froze mid-bite, fork hovering over my plate, as Laura's voice twisted into a mocking echo of mine. "Oh, Ben, you're so practical," she drawled, exaggerating my tone from earlier when I'd asked about the grocery bill. Her laugh cut through the dim hum of the restaurant, sharp and unfamiliar. Across the table, Nate, her cousin, grinned, his teeth glinting under the cheap chandelier. He leaned back, arms crossed, watching her like she just told the best joke in the world. I forced a chuckle, but it stuck in my throat. Something was off. Laura never acted like this, not in 7 years of marriage. She'd always been quiet, reserved, my steady anchor in our sleepy Ohio town. But tonight, her eyes sparkled with a strange edge, and Nate's presence only amplified it. I'd met him an hour ago when Laura dragged me here, saying he was in town for a family thing. "He's like a brother," she'd insisted, brushing off my questions. Nate didn't look like family. Too polished, too comfortable. He kept tossing her these knowing glances, and she'd giggle, giggles I hadn't heard since our dating days. I shifted in my seat, the vinyl squeaking beneath me. "So, Nate," I said, forcing my voice steady, "how's the family reunion going?" He smirked, swirling his beer. "Oh, catching up with the important people." Laura shot him a look, quick, subtle, but I caught it. My stomach tightened. I'm not paranoid. I'm an accountant. I notice patterns. And this wasn't adding up. She mocked me again, mimicking how I'd said, "tax season" earlier, and Nate laughed louder. I clenched my napkin under the table. Was this a game to them? By the time the check came, I was replaying every word, every glance. Laura excused herself to the bathroom, leaving me with Nate. He leaned in, voice low. "She's a riot, huh? Keeps things interesting." I nodded, but my mind screamed. Interesting for who? I didn't know it then, but that dinner was the first crack in everything I thought I knew about her. And I was about to find out why. Driving home, the silence between us was thicker than the fog rolling off the fields. Laura stared out the window, humming some tune I didn't recognize, while I gripped the wheel, replaying that dinner in my head. Her mocking me wasn't new. She teased me sometimes about my dry humor or how I'd alphabetized the spices. But tonight felt different, crueler, like she was performing for Nate. I glanced at her, her profile soft against the dashboard glow. 7 years. We'd built a life, modest house, shared routines, quiet nights with takeout and Netflix. She was my constant, or so I thought. But lately she'd been slipping away. More errands, more late nights texting friends. I'd brushed it off. Trust keeps a marriage alive, right? Therefore, I'd ignored the signs. Until Nate, his smug grin, her sudden boldness. It gnawed at me. "So," I said, breaking the quiet. "Nate seems nice." She turned, smirking. "He's family, Ben. Don't overthink it." Her tone was light, but her eyes darted away too fast. I let it drop, not wanting a fight. At home, she kicked off her shoes and vanished upstairs. I lingered in the kitchen, pouring a glass of water I didn't drink. That's when I saw it. Her purse, slung carelessly on the counter, half open. A photo peeked out. An old Polaroid of her and Nate, arms around each other, laughing at some beach. No family resemblance. No cousin vibe. My chest tightened. I flipped it over. Summer 19, 2 years after we'd married. She told me she'd gone to a work retreat that year. Alone. I shoved it back, heart pounding. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe I was seeing shadows where there weren't any. But then I remembered her at dinner, mimicking me, and Nate's laugh. Like they shared a secret I wasn't in on. Couldn't sleep that night. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, her soft snores beside me a mockery of peace. By morning, I knew I had to dig deeper. Not because I wanted to, but because the pieces weren't fitting anymore. And if there's one thing I hate, it's a ledger that doesn't balance. The next day, I called in sick, first time in years. Laura left early, claiming a coffee date with a girlfriend. I watched her car disappear down the street, then grabbed my laptop. I'm not a sleuth. I'm a guy who tracks numbers for a living. But that Polaroid burned a hole in my brain. I started simple, Facebook. Nate's profile was public. A gym trainer from Dayton, all flexing selfies and protein shake ads. No mention of Laura, no family tags. I scrolled back to 2019, nothing from that summer. Odd, but not proof. Then I found it. A comment on one of his posts from Laura's account. Missed this vibe, she'd written under a beach photo. Same beach as the Polaroid. My throat went dry. I clicked her profile next. Private, but I knew her password, our anniversary. Dumb, sentimental me. Her messages loaded, and there he was, Nate. Dozens of chats, flirty emojis, vague plans. See you soon, cuz, one said with a winking face. Cuz, right? I leaned back, the chair creaking under me. Context shifted. 7 years of trust cracked open. But then the conflict hit. She walked in. I'd lost track of time. Her coffee was quick. "You're home?" she asked, brows raised. I slammed the laptop shut, pulse racing. "Yeah, felt off," I lied. She nodded, but her eyes lingered on the laptop. Did she know I'd seen something? She breezed past, humming again, oblivious or pretending to be. I couldn't confront her yet. I needed more. That night, she cooked dinner, rare for her, and acted normal, chatting about her day. Too normal. I played along, but my mind churned. Why lie about Nate? What else was she hiding? After she went to bed, I dug through her purse again. Found a motel receipt, dated last week. Not a family reunion. I stared at it, the paper trembling in my hand. She'd been sloppy, or maybe she didn't care if I found out. Either way, I wasn't letting this slide. I grabbed my old Nikon from the closet. Dusty. Neglected. It wasn't just a hobby anymore. It was a tool. And I was going to use it. Laura announced she was visiting Nate's mom the next weekend. Some family emergency. I nodded, sipping my coffee, tasting nothing but bitterness. "Tell her I said hi," I said, casual as ever. She smiled, oblivious to the storm brewing in me. I'd already decided I'd follow her. Not out of love. Love was bleeding out, but curiosity, maybe spite. I spent Friday prepping. My Nikon still worked, battery half-charged. I'd loved photography once, capturing sunsets, old barns, anything with a story. Laura used to roll her eyes at it. Now it felt like fate. Saturday morning. She left, kissing my cheek like everything was fine. I waited 10 minutes, then tailed her in my beat-up Civic, keeping 2 cars between us. She didn't head toward Dayton, where Nate lived. She veered off toward Route 35, a stretch of nothing but gas stations and motels. My gut twisted. I followed, heart thumping, until she pulled into the Starlight Inn. A dingy place I'd driven past 1,000 times. Nate's truck was already there. No family emergency. Just them. I parked across the lot, hidden by a rusted dumpster. Through my lens, I watched her knock on room 12. Nate opened the door, grinning, and pulled her inside. I snapped a shot, blurry, but clear enough. Then I waited. An hour later, they stepped out, laughing, her hair messy, his arm around her. Click, click, evidence. But then the conflict spiked. My camera strap caught on the gearshift. The clunk echoed, loud in the quiet lot. Nate's head whipped toward me. I ducked, breath held, praying he didn't see. He didn't. They climbed into his truck and drove off. I stayed, hands shaking, reviewing the photos. Grainy but damning. Laura wasn't just lying. She was living a whole other life. I drove home, mind racing. What now? Confront her? Leave? No, that wasn't enough. I wanted her to feel this, the humiliation, the exposure. I'd always been the quiet one, the guy who fixed problems with numbers, not fights. But this demanded something louder, something permanent. By the time I got back, I knew what I'd do. Those photos weren't just proof. They were the start of her reckoning. I didn't sleep that night. The motel photos sat on my laptop, glowing in the dark like a confession she'd never make. Laura came home late, claiming Nate's mom was a mess. I nodded, staring at the TV I wasn't watching. "That's rough," I said, voice flat. She didn't notice. She never did. I'd always been the predictable one, Ben, the accountant, the guy who paid bills on time. But now, that predictability was my cover. She went to bed, and I stayed up, plotting. Sunday, I dug deeper. Pulled up Nate's Instagram, public, sloppy. Found a video from last month. Him and Laura at a bar, her whispering in his ear, both laughing. No family vibe there. I cross-checked dates with her errands. Matched perfectly. 7 years, and she turned me into a fool. But then the conflict hit. She walked downstairs, catching me mid-scroll. "What are you doing?" she asked, yawning. I flipped to a random tax form. "Work stuff," I lied. She shrugged and left. Too close. I needed more than photos. Monday, I tailed her again, this time to a diner. Through the window, I saw them, heads bent close, giggling over fries. Then it got weird. Nate pulled out a cheap wig, blonde, tacky, and plopped it on her head. She laughed, striking poses like some goofy actress. Role-playing? My lens caught every second. Click, click. A fry fell. She fed it to him, their fingers brushing. My stomach lurched, but I kept shooting. This wasn't just betrayal, it was a performance. Back home, I synced the pics to my laptop. The wig, the laughter, it was absurd, humiliating. I could confront her now, watch her squirm. But where's the justice in that? She'd lie again, and I'd be the sad sap picking up the pieces. No. I opened an editing app, something I hadn't touched since my photography days. Cropped the shots, sharpened the details. Their faces, clear as day. An idea sparked. Not just confrontation. Exposure. I'd make sure everyone saw this, her, him, their little game. She mocked me at that dinner. Now I'd turn the tables. And she wouldn't see it coming. I spent Tuesday hunched over my laptop, the diner photos staring back at me. Laura's blonde wig, Nate's smug grin. It was a punchline I hadn't been in on. She'd left that morning for work, her accounting firm downtown, but I'd stopped believing her. I called in sick again, second time in a week. My boss probably thought I'd lost it. Maybe I had. But those pictures fueled me. I wasn't just hurt. I was angry. 7 years of trust, shredded over fries and a cheap costume. I grabbed my Nikon again. She'd mentioned grabbing drinks with Nate later. Another family thing. I knew better now. I drove to the Starlight Inn, same dump as before, parking behind a busted van. She showed up at dusk, Nate's truck rolling in minutes later. I steadied my lens as they slipped into room 12 again. This time I got closer, crouched by the window, blinds cracked just enough. They were laughing, her in that wig, him in some thrift store cape. A game. My shutter clicked silently, capturing every ridiculous pose. But then the conflict spiked. A dog barked. Loud. Close. I flinched, my elbow knocking the window frame. The thud echoed. Inside, Nate froze, head snapping toward the sound. I dropped flat, heart hammering, Nikon pressed to my chest. Footsteps. The door creaked open. "Who's there?" he growled. I held my breath, gravel biting into my knees. He scanned the lot, muttered something, then went back in. Too close. I crawled to my car, pulse racing, and peeled out. At home, I reviewed the shots. Blurry in spots, but clear enough, her giggling, him preening. It was more than proof now, it was ammunition. I'd always been the guy who fixed leaks, balanced budgets, quiet Ben. But this wasn't a problem to solve with a calculator. This was personal. Laura came home late, smelling like cheap wine, claiming girls' night. I nodded, hiding the fire in my gut. She thought I was clueless. Good. That's how I'd play it. Those photos weren't just for me anymore. They were for everyone. And I was just getting started. Wednesday morning, Laura hummed in the kitchen, flipping pancakes like we were still some happy couple. I sat there, sipping coffee, watching her act. "You're quiet," she said, glancing over. "Just tired," I replied, forcing a smile. She bought it or didn't care. After she left for work, I pulled up the motel photos again. That wig, that cape, absurd, but it stung. I'd spent years building a life with her, and she turned it into a stage for Nate. My hands shook as I transferred the files to a USB. This wasn't about confrontation anymore. It was about consequences. I'd loved photography once. Back in college, I'd wander fields, snapping barns at golden hour. Moments Laura used to call pointless. Now, those skills were my edge. I opened an old editing program, tweaking the shots, brightened her face, sharpened his smirk. Undeniable. But then the conflict hit. What was I doing? Ruining her? Myself? I paused, staring at the screen. 7 years. Pancakes. Lies. No, she'd made her choice. I saved the edits. That afternoon, I drove to the library. Public Wi-Fi, no trace. I created a burner email and uploaded a teaser. One photo, caption guess who's playing dress-up? Sent it to a local gossip page on Facebook. Small towns thrive on whispers. This spread fast. I didn't name them, didn't need to. Everyone knew Laura's red hair, Nate's gym rat jaw. I hit send, chest tight. No going back. By evening, she was home, oblivious, scrolling her phone. I waited, pretending to read a tax manual. Then her face changed, pale, rigid. Something wrong? I asked, casual as ever. She stammered, just work drama. I nodded, hiding my smirk. The post had 20 comments already. Is that? No way. And climbing. She didn't suspect me. Not yet. I went to bed, her pacing downstairs a faint rhythm. I cracked the dam and the flood was coming. She'd mocked me at that dinner, thinking I'd never push back. But I wasn't the pushover she thought. I'd make sure they both paid. Not with fists, not with words, but with something sharper, shame. And I wasn't done yet. Thursday hit like a storm. Laura barely spoke, eyes glued to her phone over breakfast. I watched her, stirring my oatmeal, counting the seconds till she cracked. You okay? I asked, voice steady. Fine, she snapped, too quick. She wasn't fine. That teaser photo had blown up. 50 shares by morning, comments piling up. Looks like Laura M. And that trainer dude. Wild. She hadn't connected it to me, though. I covered my tracks, burner email, library IP. Years of crunching numbers taught me precision. This was just a different kind of ledger. I called in sick again, third time. My boss left a voicemail, worried. I didn't care. I had bigger plans. I grabbed my Nikon and headed back to the Starlight Inn. If they were dumb enough to meet again, I'd catch it. Sure enough, Nate's truck rolled in at noon. Laura showed up minutes later. No wig this time, just raw panic on her face. I stayed low, lens trained through the window. They argued, her gesturing wildly, him pacing. Click, click, perfect. But then the conflict surged. A maid knocked on their door. They froze, voices hushed. She peeked out, shooing the woman away. I ducked behind a trash bin, but my shoe scuffed the gravel, loud in the midday quiet. Nate bolted out, scanning the lot. Someone's here. I heard him hiss. My pulse spiked. I clutched the camera, sprinting to my car before he spotted me. Tires squealed as I tore off, their shouts fading behind me. At home, I uploaded the new shots, raw, unedited. Her fear, his anger, better than any roleplay. I stitched them into a video. Diner giggles, motel costumes, today's fight. Added a cheap soundtrack, circus music, fittingly absurd. No names, just faces. I posted it from the library again, this time to a bigger group. Springfield Uncovered. Within an hour, it had 200 views. Comments exploded, disgusting. Who are they? I leaned back, adrenaline buzzing. Laura wasn't home yet. When she walked in, her eyes were red, phone clutched tight. Rough day, I asked, flipping a page in my book. She didn't answer. The game was on, and she didn't even know I was playing. Friday morning, Laura didn't get out of bed. I heard her muttering into her phone, Nate's voice faintly barking back. I brewed coffee, acting like nothing was wrong, while the video racked up 1,000 views. The town was buzzing, grocery store whispers, barbershop theories. That's Laura married to the numbers guy, right? I'd seen it on my way to the library. Heads turning, eyes darting. She'd built this perfect little life. Church volunteer, sweet wife, and I'd torched it. Part of me felt sick. But then I remembered her mocking me. Nate's grin, and the sickness faded. I sat at my desk, staring at the USB drive. The video was out there, but I hadn't shown everything. I still had those first motel shots, grainy, raw. Enough to seal the deal if I needed to. I hesitated, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Was this too far? 7 years deserved some mercy, didn't they? But then she stumbled downstairs, hair wild, face blotchy. "Ben," she croaked. "We need to talk." Here it was. She sat across from me, eyes darting. "Someone's spreading lies. Pictures. Videos. It's not what it looks like." I raised a brow, calm as stone. "What's it look like?" She fumbled. Nate was helping a friend. The wig was a joke. Lies stacked on lies. Conflict flared. I could have ended it there, shown my hand. But I didn't. "That's awful," I said, voice flat. "Who'd do that?" She stared, searching my face. I held her gaze unblinking. She backed off, muttering about fixing it. After she left, I checked the video, 2,000 views now. Comments named her outright. Laura Mitchell and Nate Brewer, caught red-handed. She'd lied about more than Nate, I realized. She'd played me for years, and I'd been too blind or too soft to see it. That's when I decided, no mercy. I'd drop the final photos soon, the ones that'd bury them. She thought she could talk her way out, charm the town back. She was wrong. I wasn't just exposing her anymore. I was rewriting her story. And when she walked in that night, pale and trembling, I knew she felt the walls closing in. Saturday hit hard. Laura barely left her room, phone buzzing nonstop. I caught snippets, her mom, her boss, all asking about the video. It was at 5,000 views now, shared beyond Springfield. Local couple's bizarre secret exposed. Some blogger had titled it. I scrolled the comments at the kitchen table, sipping coffee like it was any other day. She deserves it. What a clown show. I didn't smile. This wasn't joy, it was justice. She'd mocked me in front of Nate, thinking I'd stay quiet. Now the whole town was laughing at her. She finally came down, eyes hollow. "Ben," she said, voice shaking, "I need you to believe me. Nate's just a friend. This is a setup." I set my mug down, slow and deliberate. "A friend you visit motels with?" Her jaw dropped. First crack in her mask. "What?" she whispered. I shrugged. People talk. She didn't know I'd seen it all, shot it all. I let her squirm, her lies tangling tighter. "I'd never," she started. But the doorbell cut her off. Conflict crashed in. Nate. He stormed inside, red-faced, ignoring my hello. "You see this garbage?" he yelled at her, waving his phone. "We're done if this keeps up." I leaned against the counter, watching them unravel. Laura hissed back, "I told you to stay low." They argued like I wasn't there, blaming each other, the video, the town. I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I slipped upstairs, grabbed my laptop, and uploaded the last motel shots to the gossip page. No caption needed. Let the pictures scream. By night, it was chaos. The post hit 10,000 views. Laura's phone rang off the hook. Friends dropping her. Her boss reconsidering her job. She cornered me in the living room, tears streaming. "Did you do this?" she demanded. I met her gaze cold. "Do what?" She faltered, doubt flickering. She couldn't prove it. Not yet. Nate peeled out of our driveway, tires screeching, and she collapsed on the couch, sobbing. I stood there, silent. She'd built this mess. I just lit the match. And as the views climbed, I knew one thing. They'd never outrun this. Not in this town. Not ever. Sunday morning, the house was a tomb. Laura hadn't slept. Dark circles framed her eyes as she shuffled into the kitchen. The video was at 15,000 views, a local wildfire no one could douse. I sipped my coffee, watching her fumble with a mug. "You're up early," I said, neutral. She didn't answer, just stared at her phone like it might save her. It wouldn't. I'd seen the comments, "She's trash. Nate's a joke." And the shares kept climbing. She'd wanted attention with him. Now she had it. Then the doorbell rang. Laura flinched, spilling coffee. I opened it. Mrs. Carter, our nosy neighbor, clutching her terrier. Ben, she whispered. Is it true? Laura and that trainer. Context hit. The town wasn't just gossiping. They were dissecting her life. I don't know. I lied, shrugging. She nodded, eager to spread it further. Laura overheard, storming over. It's lies, she snapped. Mrs. Carter scurried off, unconvinced. Conflict erupted. Laura rounded on me. Why didn't you defend me? I met her glare. What's there to defend? She froze, then bolted upstairs, slamming the door. I didn't follow. Instead, I grabbed my phone and checked the gossip page. Someone had dug up Nate's old DUI, irrelevant but juicy. Then a new comment. She cheated on her high school boyfriend too. My stomach twisted. I knew her past. Sweet girl, loyal, or so she'd said. Was that a lie too? I texted an old buddy, Greg, from her hometown. Ever hear about Laura and cheating? His reply came fast. Yeah, man. Broke my cousin's heart senior year. Another crack in her facade. She wasn't just playing me. She'd been playing everyone, always. That night, she emerged, mascara streaked. I'm going to my mom's, she muttered, bag slung over her shoulder. Sure, I said, calm as ever. She hesitated, expecting a fight. I gave her nothing. She left, tires crunching gravel, and I sat there, alone. This wasn't over. The town knew her name, her shame. But now I knew her too. Really knew her. And that changed everything. Monday, the air felt lighter with Laura gone. I went to work, first time in days, ignoring the side eye from coworkers. They'd seen the video. Springfield's too small to hide. My desk was a mess, papers stacked from missed deadlines, but I didn't care. I'd balanced a different kind of books. At lunch, I stopped at the gas station for a sandwich. That's when Nate rolled up, truck rumbling. He spotted me, climbed out, and marched over, fists clenched. You know something? He growled, inches from my face. Context shifted. He wasn't just mad, he was desperate. About what? I asked, unwrapping my sandwich, calm as stone. That video, those pictures. It's too convenient. Conflict flared. He shoved me, my back hitting the pump. People stared, old Mr. Jenkins pumping gas, a cashier peering out. Back off, I said, voice low. He smirked. Or what? You're the quiet type, Ben. Weak. I stepped closer, eye level. Keep thinking that. He blinked, thrown, then spat on the ground and stormed off. I didn't flinch. He'd rattled me, sure, but I'd rattled him worse. Back home, I checked the video, 20,000 views. A local news blog had picked it up. Springfield scandal goes viral. No names yet, but hints, married woman, gym trainer. Laura called, voice shaky. Nate's losing it. He thinks you're behind this. I paused, letting her sweat. Why would I be? She stammered, then hung up. Good. Doubt was her poison now. That night, I sat on the porch, stars sharp overhead. I'd always been the steady one, boring Ben, paying bills, mowing lawns. But steady didn't scrabble, isn't weak. Nate thought he could push me. Laura thought she could play me. They were wrong. I turned their game into mine, and they were scrambling. The town saw them for what they were. And me? I was done being invisible. Nate's threat lingered, though. He wasn't done. Neither was I. The next move was coming, and I'd be ready. Tuesday, Laura's car was back in the driveway when I got home. She was inside packing clothes, books, her half of our life stuffed into boxes. I'm staying with Mom permanently, she said, not looking up. Her voice was flat, defeated. I leaned against the doorframe, watching her fold a sweater I'd bought her years ago. Okay, I said. No fight left in her or me. Context hit. This was it, the end of us. 7 years gone. But then she stopped, pulling out a photo album. Our wedding, smiles, promises. You ruined me, she whispered, tears welling. Conflict crashed in. You ruined yourself. I shot back, sharper than I meant. You and Nate. I just held up a mirror. She glared, hurling the album at me. It hit the wall, pages splaying. You're a coward, she spat. hiding behind pictures. I didn't flinch. And you're a liar. Always were. She froze, then grabbed her bag and left, door slamming. Silence settled, heavy and final. I cleaned up later, flipping through the album. Smiles, yes, but cracks too, her distance, my naivety. Then I found it. A note tucked inside, scrawled in her handwriting. You think you won, but I've got my own pictures. My pulse spiked. What pictures? Of me? Something else? I tossed it aside, unsettled. She was bluffing, had to be, but doubt crept in. She'd always been good at games. I checked the video later, 25,000 views. A coworker texted, heard Nate's moving to Columbus. Laura's toast at work. Good. Let them run. But Greg called that night, voice low. Found more, man. She didn't just cheat in high school. She tanked a guy's college scholarship. Stole his project. Claimed it as hers. Another layer peeled back. She wasn't just unfaithful. She was ruthless. I'd been her mark too. By bedtime I realized this wasn't about love for her. It was control. And I'd taken it back. But that note gnawed at me. What did she have? Was this really over? I didn't sleep, wondering if I'd misjudged her one last time. Wednesday, the town was still humming. I overheard it at the diner, Nate's gone. Laura's a ghost. The video hit 30,000 views, and that blog ran a follow-up. Local pair flees after viral shame. I ate my eggs listening to the chatter. She had it coming, one guy said. Poor Ben, another muttered. Poor Ben. I almost laughed. They didn't know I'd lit the fuse. Work was quiet. People avoided my desk, unsure what to say. Fine by me. I liked the silence now. Context shifted. Laura's mom called midday. She's a mess, Ben. Lost her job. Can't you stop this? I pictured her. Gray hair, kind eyes, oblivious to her daughter's lies. It's not my mess, I said, hanging up. But then conflict struck. Nate texted me. You'll regret this. Watch your back. Short, sharp, a threat. I stared at it, adrenaline prickling. He'd run, but not far enough. I blocked him, but the words stuck. That afternoon, I drove past the Starlight Inn. Deserted now, like they'd never been there. I stopped at the library, checked the gossip page. Posts slowing, interest fading. Good. Let it die. But then I saw it. A new photo, grainy, posted anonymously. Me at the gas station, mid-shove with Nate. Caption. Who's the real victim? My gut dropped. Laura's note. I've got my own pictures. She'd struck back. Not enough to name me, but enough to hint. Clever. I got home, rattled. The house felt too big, too empty. I grabbed my Nikon. Flipped through old shots. Fields, sunsets, moments before her. I'd loved the clarity it gave me. Now, it had turned her life to ash and maybe mine too. She'd planted a seed, a whisper that could grow. I deleted the gas station post from my burner account. Too late, probably. Views were climbing again. She'd flipped the script, made me a player, not a bystander. Nate's threat echoed, her photo lingered. They were down but not out. I sat there, camera in hand, realizing this victory wasn't clean. It was messy, jagged, and maybe unfinished. Thursday, I woke to quiet. No calls, no texts, just the hum of the fridge. I checked the video, 35,000 views, but comments had tapered off. The town was moving on, new drama, fresh gossip. Laura's car stayed gone. Nate's truck didn't roll back. I walked through the house, past her empty closet. My old Nikon on the table. 7 years reduced to this. I'd won, hadn't I? Exposed them, reclaimed my spine. But that gas station photo, her counterpunch, left a bruise. Context settled. I'd changed. The Ben who trusted blindly, who fixed leaks and ignored red flags, he was gone. I turned my lens on them, made them pay. But conflict lingered, her note, Nate's threat. Loose ends. I brewed coffee, replaying it all, dinner, mockery, betrayal, revenge. I'd been steady, predictable, until I wasn't. Now I was the guy who'd burned it down. Not poor Ben. Just Ben. I drove to the edge of town, camera in tow. Snapped a shot. A lone tree bent by wind, still standing. Like me, maybe. Back home, I uploaded it to my own page. not the burner. First post in years. Starting over, I captioned it. No circus music, no shame, just a quiet step. Friends liked it, oblivious to the war I'd fought. Good. Let them think I was healing. Maybe I was. That night, I boxed up Laura's leftovers. Photos, trinkets, lies, and set them by the curb. Trash day tomorrow. I kept the Nikon, though. It wasn't just a tool anymore. It was mine again. Her picture, Nate's growl, they'd fade. They had to. I'd made them run, made them small. If she had more, she'd have used it by now. Right? I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, not sure. Victory felt heavy, bittersweet. But it was mine. I'd survived her, him, us. And tomorrow, I'd wake up alone, free, and finally awake.